My brother was the golden child until he found out our parents were lying about me. So he gave me evidence and together we destroyed their legal case. I've always dreamed of being like my brother, because ever since I was a child, I wanted nothing more than for my parents to love me. So, while other kids were running around outside or playing with trucks, I was always at home trying to scrub every floor and surface until they were in span, trying to somehow figure out my mom's at-home filing system. So I could help. But each time I got the same result, they'd come home and praise my twin brother instead of me. Wow, Logan, we're so proud of you for motivating your brother Leo to do this. He'd then received some sort of gift, and outing sweets. Well, I got scolded for not doing more, and you know that quote from BoJack Horseman. It goes, when you tell someone they're bad long enough, they start to believe it. Well, I was believing it all right. Not just that I was bad, that Logan had something I didn't, that he was someone I needed to prove myself to. So in high school, when I got the scholarship to a college nearby, I was ecstatic. I felt like I was flying. I practically ran down the stairs to tell Logan and my parents, but instead of hugging me or telling me they were proud or at least a simple well done, they looked angry. I thought steam was actually going to come out of Logan's ears. I went completely silent and the room erupted. Are you effing serious right now? My dad roared with his knuckles clenched by his side. How could you do this to us? My mom added with tears welling in her eyes. Meanwhile, Logan was just death staring me with his arms crossed. You see, Logan had applied to the same one, and since I was the one to get it, my parents actually believed that I had stolen it from him. I sneakily wiped the tears from my eyes so they wouldn't see how upset I was. They continued shouting at me. So I just walked up to my room. I left the door slightly open to eavesdrop. They unanimously agreed that I must have plagiarized or cheated, that there was no other explanation for why I would get in and Logan wouldn't. We don't raise cheaters in this house. There was so much anger and hate in my dad's voice that I was actually scared. After that they started whispering to each other, but I had heard enough and ended up going to bed early or trying to at least, because the guilt kept me awake. I thought back to all the hours I put into studying and all the hours Logan put into partying, how I should have convinced him to work, how I could have helped him make better decisions. My heart broke and in that moment I felt like the worst brother to ever exist. I regretted ever replying, but my decision was about to be reversed because after a few days of receiving the silent treatment at home, my guidance counselor pulled me in for a meeting. She told me she was ashamed of me and she wished she never helped me. I didn't even know what she was talking about and I was already crying. But then she explained, apparently they had received a formal plagiarism complaint with screenshots of documents that made it clear my work was someone else's. I started seeing the room with tunnel vision. I could hear my heartbeat all around my body. I was like a deer in headlights. She just looked at me with disgust. I sighed and walked out. I was done. Yes, I felt guilty, but I still earned that opportunity, right? And that's when I got the notification. It was from my dad telling me not to come home. Cool. So I walked to my godfather's house feeling a mixture of shame and anger. I expected to be somewhat uplifted, but when my godfather Jack opened the door, my heart completely sunk because he gave me a huge smile and I realized it was the first genuine smile I'd received in years. So I couldn't help myself. I cried into his shoulder. He brought me inside and I told him everything. Parents, Logan, college. He didn't say much, just nodded. I was just happy to have someone to listen to me. That day was so exhausting that I could barely stay awake anymore and I ended up falling asleep soon after. When I woke up, it was pitch black outside and the house was quiet. My phone was dead and I wanted to know what time it was. So I crept upstairs to use Jack's phone while he slept. It automatically unlocked and I saw he had been in contact with my parents. So, like any respectful 17-year-old boy, I read their conversation. Well, before I opened up, Jack had no idea what my parents were up to. He just knew that I was coming. But my parents had lied and said I was going through a rough patch. And after I told him the truth, it was clear he was angry because his texts were well. Let's just say they were very unfriendly. But as I kept reading, I couldn't help but smile because it was the first time someone had ever stood up for me before and I didn't know it at the time. But Jack was going to do a lot more than send some angry texts. The next morning Jack made breakfast, like nothing happened, but there was this determined look in his eyes. Leo, I think I know what happened with your scholarship. He said casually sliding me some pancakes and we're going to fix it. I nearly choked on my orange juice. How well? For starters, I called my buddy at Hampton's admissions office. They're reviewing the plagiarism claim but, more importantly, he sat down across from me. I think we need to talk about the bigger issue here, your parents and Logan. That's when Jack told me something that changed everything. Apparently he'd been watching this dynamic in our family for years, getting more concerned as time passed. He tried to talk to my parents about it a few times, but they always dismissed him. What they're doing isn't normal, Leo. It's not your fault and you don't deserve it. I started crying again, embarrassing, I know. And here's something else you should know. Jack continued sliding his phone across the table. Logan called me this morning, said he needed to talk to me urgently about you wants to meet at the coffee shop downtown at noon. That sent a chill down my spine. Logan had never reached out to Jack before. What was he planning? You think I should go? Jack asked. Part of me wanted to say no, to hide away and never face my family again. But a different part, maybe the part that had finally been stood up for, wanted answers. Yeah, I said. But I'm coming with you, I'll stay out of sight, but I want to hear whatever he has to say. Jack nodded, that's fair, but Leo, whatever happens today, I want you to remember something, this pattern with your family. It's going to end one way or another. I had no idea then just how right he was or how quickly things were about to unravel, because Logan wasn't coming alone to that coffee shop, and what we were about to discover would blow my entire family wide open. Looking back now, I realized that moment standing in Jack's kitchen was a turning point. For years I'd accepted my family's treatment as normal, even deserved, but seeing Jack's unwavering belief in me made me question everything I'd been conditioned to accept. There's something powerful about having someone in your corner when you've been alone for so long. As Jack and I prepared for the meeting with Logan, I couldn't help but wonder what my twin wanted. Had he come to apologize to threaten me further? I tried to imagine various scenarios, but nothing could have prepared me for what actually happened. The scholarship drama was merely the tip of a very deep, very dark iceberg that had been lurking beneath the surface of our family dynamics for years. I've learned that sometimes the hardest truth to accept isn't about others' betrayal, but about how long you've let yourself be diminished. That day at the coffee shop would change everything, not just about my scholarship, but about how I saw myself and my place in the world. Jack didn't just offer me shelter that rainy night. He gave me something I'd never had before, the courage to stand up for myself and demand the respect I deserved. I got to the coffee shop 15 minutes early and positioned myself at a corner table where I could see Logan arrive, but he wouldn't immediately notice me. Jack sat closer to the entrance. Nursing an Americano like this was just a casual meeting and not potentially the most stressful conversation of my life. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I hadn't seen Logan since that night. At dinner, when everything blew up, I kept my hoodie up and tried to look like I was just some random guy focusing on his laptop. Logan showed up exactly at noon, always punctual when it came to his own schedule, not so much when other people were waiting on him. He scanned the shop, spotted Jack, and walked over with this weird nervous energy I wasn't used to seeing from my usually confident twin. "Thanks for meeting me," Logan said. He kept looking around like he was afraid someone might see him. I couldn't hear their entire conversation from my position, but I could see Logan's face clearly. He looked stressed, worried it wasn't the smug expression I was expecting. Jack nodded a lot, occasionally glancing in my direction. After about 10 minutes, Jack got up and headed toward the bathroom, which was our signal. As he passed my table, he dropped a napkin with something scribbled on it. "He wants to talk to you, says, it's important your call." My heart was pounding so hard I thought other customers might hear it. I took a deep breath, closed my laptop and walked over to Logan's table. His eyes went wide when he saw me. "Leo, what the hell? Jack told me you wanted to talk," I said, sliding into the chair across from him. "So talk." Logan looked around again then leaned forward. "You need to drop this whole thing. Just admit, you cheated, apologize to mom and dad and move on." I stared at him seriously. "That's why you wanted to meet, to tell me to confess to something I didn't do. Look, I know you think you're being screwed over," but he lowered his voice. "It's better this way. Hampton was always my thing. You knew that. Your thing I didn't even know." "You were applying until after I got in," Logan's face flushed. "That's not true. I told everyone I was applying there since freshman year." I thought back, trying to remember if he'd ever mentioned it, maybe at a family dinner I wasn't invited to, or when I was studying upstairs. But no, this was just another example of the Logan-centered universe my family lived in. Apparently, I was supposed to automatically know his plans and adjust mine accordingly. "I worked my ass off for that scholarship," I said, keeping my voice low but intense. "I earned it fair and square, and someone, probably you, submitted fake evidence to get it taken away from me." Logan's eyes darted away. "Bingo, it was you, wasn't it?" I pressed. "Not exactly," he muttered. "Dad helped." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I mean, I'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed was different. My own father had sabotaged my future. Jack returned from the bathroom and sat next to me, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "This family discussion now includes me," Jack said firmly, "and I'm very interested in what you just told Leo about your father's involvement in this plagiarism accusation." Logan's face went pale. I didn't, I mean. Let me be very clear. Jack continued. "What your parents have done, what you've participated in, is wrong on multiple levels. It's emotional abuse, academic fraud, and potentially illegal." Logan's eyes widened. "Illegal? Come on, it's just family stuff, falsifying evidence to revoke a scholarship." Jack raised an eyebrow that crosses several lines. I watched my twin brother squirm uncomfortably. He wasn't used to being challenged. He looked like a little kid caught stealing cookies, not the golden child who could do no wrong. "What exactly did Dad do?" I asked. Logan sighed, deflating a little. "He took some of your earlier essays from the shared family computer and found similar papers online. Then he altered some dates and created fake screenshots." Jack's grip tightened on my shoulder. "And your mother, was she involved too?" "She knew about it," Logan admitted, "but Dad did the actual." You know, I felt numb. For years I'd blamed myself for not being good enough. I tried to earn their love by being perfect, and all this time they were actively working against me. "Why?" I asked, my voice cracking a little. "Why would you guys do this to me?" For the first time ever, I saw shame on Logan's face. Real shame, not the fake contrition he'd used to get out of trouble. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," he said. "When you got the scholarship instead of me, Dad was furious, said you must have cheated somehow." I just went along with it. I always go along with it. "Go along with what exactly?" Jack asked. Logan looked between us, then down at his hands. "With the Leo thing, the Leo thing." I repeated. "You know," he mumbled. "The way they treat you differently." Jack leaned forward. "Logan, I need you to be completely honest right now. Has this pattern of favoritism and sabotage been going on your whole lives?" Logan nodded slowly. "Since we were little, I don't even know why it started. At first I thought it was cool, getting extra stuff, but then it got weird." "Weird how?" I asked, like they'd make me report back on what you were doing. If you were studying too much or getting good grades. They'd find ways to distract you, give you extra chores, hide your homework. Sometimes each word was like a knife. All those times I couldn't find my textbook, all those sudden urgent cleaning tasks right before exams. It hadn't been bad luck or my own disorganization. They'd reward me for getting better grades than you. Logan continued, not meeting my eyes, but if you outperformed me, they'd punish you for making me look bad. Jesus Christ. Jack muttered. I didn't understand it when we were kids, Logan said, but around middle school I figured it out by then. It was just the way things were and you never thought to. I don't know. Tell me, I asked, anger finally cutting through the shock. I tried once. Logan said, when we were 14, I told Mom it wasn't fair how they treated you. She got really upset, said I was being ungrateful, that they were just preparing us for the real world, preparing us how I demanded. Logan looked genuinely confused, something about how there can only be one winner in life. That's why they were training me to succeed in YouTube. Not, Jack made a disgusted noise. That's seriously messed up. Why are you telling me this now? I asked Logan, after all these years of watching them tear me down, why the sudden attack of conscience? He shifted uncomfortably. This scholarship thing crossed a line. When they kicked you out. I didn't know they were going to do that. And then, when I heard you were staying with Jack, Dad, and Mom started saying really weird stuff about how you were dead to the family and how we needed to cut out the cancer. The casual way he repeated those words sent a chill through me. They're talking about disowning me permanently. I realized aloud. Logan nodded. They're meeting with a lawyer tomorrow about removing you from the will and stuff. Mom's even talking about legally changing my last name to her maiden name, so we don't share anything anymore. This is unhinged. Jack said, pulling out his phone. I'm documenting everything you're saying. No, Logan looked panicked. You can't tell them. I told you they'll what I asked. Treat you like they treat me. His silence was answer enough. Jack put his phone down. Logan, I understand you're scared, but you need to understand what's happening here is deeply wrong. Your parents have been psychologically abusing Leo his entire life and they've manipulated you into being part of it. Logan's eyes welled up. I know, I'm sorry. I wanted to be furious with him. Part of me was, but seeing him finally face the truth, I mostly felt sad. He'd been a pawn too, just in a different way. So what now? I asked Jack. Now we fix this. Jack said firmly, starting with your scholarship, how Logan asked. Dad already sent the fake evidence. Jack smiled grimly. I have a friend in Hampton's admissions office. Remember, and unlike your father, I understand digital forensics. Those altered documents won't stand up to serious scrutiny. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. What about me? Logan asked quietly. I can't go back home and pretend this conversation never happened. Jack and I exchanged looks. Despite everything, he was still my twin. You can stay with me too. Jack offered. I have another spare room. Logan looked genuinely surprised. Why would you help me after what I did? Because, unlike your parents, I don't believe in throwing kids away. Jack said simply. We left the coffee shop with a tentative plan. Jack would contact Hampton College to contest the plagiarism accusation. I would stay with Jack indefinitely and Logan would go home to collect some essentials, make an excuse about staying at a friend's house for a school project and then join us at Jack's later that night. I wasn't sure if I could trust Logan completely yet, but something had shifted between us. For the first time we were on the same side. Against our parents' twisted game. Back at Jack's place, I helped prepare the second guest room for Logan. While Jack made some calls, I couldn't hear everything, but phrases like pattern of emotional abuse and legal documentation made it clear he wasn't just focusing on the scholarship issue. Around 8 p.m. my phone buzzed with a text from Logan. Dad's watching me pack. Acting suspicious, might be delayed. An hour passed, then another. By 11 p.m. Logan still hadn't arrived. I tried texting him, but the messages showed as delivered but not read. Something's wrong. I told Jack. Give him until morning. Jack advised your parents might be keeping a close eye on him after your disappearing act. I tried to sleep but kept checking my phone every few minutes. No messages from Logan. I even tried calling around 2 a.m., but it went straight to voicemail by breakfast. I was convinced our parents had somehow found out about our meeting. We need to go check on him. I insisted to Jack over coffee. Jack looked conflicted. If we show up at your parents' house, it could make things worse. Or Logan could be in trouble for trying to help me. I countered before Jack could respond. His phone rang. He checked the caller ID and his expression turned serious. It's Hampton College. I held my breath as Jack answered and spoke in professional tones. The call lasted about 10 minutes, with Jack mostly listening and occasionally asking clarifying questions. When he hung up, his face was unreadable. Well, I demanded. The good news is my friend convinced them to re-examine the plagiarism accusation, Jack said. The bad news is they found something else. My stomach dropped. What, another application for the same scholarship, using your personal information but with different essays and recommendations, submitted a day before the deadline? I was confused. I only submitted one application. Exactly, Jack said. Someone submitted a second one in your name, a much weaker one with obvious plagiarism issues. It was designed to invalidate your legitimate application. My parents, I whispered. It wasn't enough for them to accuse me after I got the scholarship. They tried to sabotage me before the decision was even made. The timing is suspicious. Jack agreed. But here's where it gets interesting. The fake application was submitted from an IP address associated with your high school, not your home. My mind raced. Logan. He must have done it from the school library. That would be my guess, Jack nodded. The good news is my friend is now aware of the situation and is documenting everything. They're going to review your original application on its merits alone. I should have felt relieved, but all I could think about was Logan. Had our parents figured out he was planning to defect to my side? Was that why he hadn't shown up last night? We need to check on Logan, I insisted again. After some back and forth, Jack agreed we drive by the house to see if we could spot Logan or get him alone. Somehow I was a bundle of nerves as we approached my neighborhood. What if my parents saw me? What if they called the police and accused me of trespassing? As we turned onto my street, I immediately noticed something strange. There was a moving truck in our driveway. What the hell, I muttered. Jack slowed the car parking a few houses down. We watched as men carried boxes and furniture out of my childhood home and into the truck. Are they moving? I asked in disbelief. Jack frowned without telling you. That seems extreme, even for them. We sat there for nearly an hour watching the movers work. I spotted my mother directing them a few times, pointing at various items. My father appeared briefly carrying some files to their car, but no sign of Logan. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm going over there. Jack grabbed my arm. Wait, Leo, think this through. They're literally moving away without telling me. I was nearly shouting and Logan still not answering his phone. Something is seriously wrong. Before Jack could stop me, I jumped out of the car and jogged toward my house. My mother saw me first. Her face went through several emotions, rapidly surprise, anger, and then something like fear. What are you doing here? She hissed, grabbing my arm and pulling me around the side of the house, away from the movers. Where's Logan? I demanded. None of your business, you're not part of this family anymore. The casual cruelty still had the power to hurt, even after everything I now knew. So you're just moving without telling me. Where am I supposed to go? All my stuff is in there. We packed your essential items, she said coldly. Jack can pick them up next week from our lawyer. Where's Logan? I repeated. Something flickered across her face. He's staying with a friend until we get settled in the new house. I didn't believe her for a second. Which friend? That's not your concern. She looked over my shoulder. I see you've turned Jack against us too, always playing the victim. Jack had followed me and now stood a few feet away. Arms crossed. Barbara, we need to talk about what you and Robert have done. My mother's face hardened. There's nothing to discuss. Leo made his choices, like working hard and earning a scholarship. Jack asked with barely controlled anger, or did you mean existing in a household that systematically undermined and abused him since childhood? My mother actually laughed a sharp, humorless sound. Is that what he told you? Poor Leo, always misunderstood. Did he tell you about the substances we found in his room? I was so shocked I couldn't speak for AM. What substances? I've never done substances in my life, the devil's lettuce and capsules in your desk drawer, she said smoothly, the ones Logan found last month. We were trying to help you get you into treatment quietly, but then you started acting out with this scholarship nonsense. My head was spinning. They were making up complete lies, now creating an entirely fictional version of me. Jack put a steadying hand on my shoulder. Barbara. This has gone far enough. He said firmly, we have documentation of the false plagiarism claims. We know about the fake application submitted in Leo's name, and now you're abandoning your 17-year-old son and making up substance accusations. My mother's confident facade cracked slightly. You have no proof of anything. Actually we do, Jack replied. But right now my concern is Logan. Where is he really? For the first time, my mother looked uncertain. He's fine, he's just processing everything. Let me talk to him. I demanded just 5 minutes. That's not possible right now. My father chose that moment to come around the corner. When he saw me, his face contorted with rage. What is he doing here, Barbara? I told you to call the police. If he showed up, Robert. Jack stepped forward. We're trying to have a civil conversation about what's happening here. My father pointed at Jack. You've always undermined our parenting, always taken Leo's side. Well, now you've got him. He's your problem. Now he's not a problem, Jack said evenly. He's a remarkable young man who deserves better than what you've done to him. My father's face turned an alarming shade of red. Get off my property before I call the police. Where's Logan? I asked again, refusing to be intimidated. Gone. My father shouted, he's gone where you can't poison him against us anymore. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? My mother grabbed my father's arm. Robert, don't. For a moment none of us spoke. The movers continued working in the background, pretending not to notice the family drama unfolding. We've enrolled Logan in Westfield Academy. My mother finally said he left yesterday. Westfield Academy, the boarding school 3 states away known for its strict disciplinary approach. The place parents sent troubled kids to straighten them out. You sent him to boarding school because he talked to me. I was incredulous. We sent him there because he needs structure. My father snapped. Away from your influence, Jack pulled out his phone. I'm calling Logan right now. His phone privileges have been suspended for the first month. My mother said, smugly school policy for new students. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They'd essentially imprisoned Logan because he'd shown signs of breaking away from their control. This isn't over. Jack said, his voice deadly calm. You've made a series of very poor decisions that have legal consequences. Expect to hear from my attorney. He gently guided me away from my parents, back toward his car. I was too stunned to resist. They sent Logan away. I kept repeating as we drove off, because of me. No, Jack corrected firmly. They sent Logan away because they're losing control of their narrative. This isn't your fault, Leo. None of it is. Back at Jack's house, we formulated a plan. Jack contacted a lawyer friend who specialized in family law. I wrote down everything I could remember about my parents' treatment over the years, the sabotage, the favoritism, the emotional manipulation, and together we researched Westfield Academy. They have a strict no outside contact policy for the first 30 days. I read from their website it's supposed to help new students detach from negative influences and commit to the program. Jack frowned. That's convenient for your parents, but there must be exceptions for family emergencies, which this technically isn't, I pointed out. Not in a way we could explain to school administrators. Maybe not directly, Jack admitted, but there are other approaches. Over the next week things moved quickly. Hampton College officially reinstated my scholarship. After reviewing the evidence of tampering, Jack's lawyer friend Susan helped me file for legal emancipation, given that my parents had effectively abandoned me and, most surprisingly, several of my teachers came forward with documentation of my parents' inappropriate interference in my education over the years. Apparently I wasn't the only one who had noticed something was off. My chemistry teacher, Ms. Rivera, had kept records of every time my parents had requested my grades be reconsidered downward or complained about me showing off in class. My debate coach had emails from them asking that I be given less prominent roles so I wouldn't overshadow Logan. It was validating, but also deeply painful to see how systematic their sabotage had been, how many people had witnessed it but felt powerless to intervene directly. Meanwhile, Jack worked on contacting Logan. The school wouldn't put me through to him, but Jack managed to speak with a counselor there expressing concern about the circumstances of Logan's sudden enrollment. 2 weeks after our confrontation at the house, we finally got a breakthrough. A letter arrived for me from Logan. The handwriting on the envelope was unmistakably his, though the return address was unfamiliar. Inside was a single sheet of notebook paper. Leo, I'm okay, don't worry, school monitors all communication, but Dakota, my roommate, is sending this through his cousin who lives nearby. Parents told school you abused me growing up. Total lies. They're scared. We taught teachers here actually nice, but strict, working on a plan. Trust me for once, L. I read it 3 times, relief washing over me. Logan was safe, if not exactly free, and he was still on my side. Jack read the letter and nodded approvingly. This gives us something to work with. If Logan is willing to contradict your parents' version of events, it becomes their word against both of ours. I finished exactly and with the documentation we've already gathered, plus testimony from your teachers. Jack smiled grimly. Your parents have significantly overplayed their hand. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting to my parents' cruelty, I was actively fighting back, and I wasn't alone. What I didn't realize was that my parents were also making plans and they weren't going to let go of their control without a desperate final attempt to destroy the truth and me along with it. The next morning I woke up to Jack shaking my shoulder urgently. Lo, wake up, we have a problem. I rubbed my eyes and checked my phone. 6:47 a.m. way too early for any good news. What's going on? I mumbled. Jack handed me his laptop. On screen was an email from Susan, his lawyer friend. I skimmed it quickly then felt my stomach drop. They're filing for a restraining order against you. On what grounds? Apparently, Jack said grimly. Your parents are claiming you've been harassing them, making threats, and that they fear for their safety. I sat up straight, fully awake. Now. That's complete BS. I haven't even contacted them since that day at the house. I know. Jack nodded. Susan thinks it's a preemptive move. They're trying to legally keep you away and control the narrative before we can make any more progress with Logan or the scholarship situation. I fell back against my pillow just when I thought things couldn't get more twisted. They're also claiming I've been brainwashing you. Jack added, his voice tight, and that I have some kind of inappropriate interest in turning you against them. That made me genuinely angry. Jack had been nothing but supportive, while my actual parents were the ones pulling every manipulative trick in the book. So what do we do? I asked. Susan's already on it. We have documentation, remember, and their claims won't hold up under scrutiny. Jack squeezed my shoulder. But we need to be smart here. No contact with your parents at all. Document everything, and we need to accelerate our plans with Logan. Over breakfast, Jack and I strategized the restraining order. Hearing was scheduled for next week. If granted, it would legally prevent me from contacting my parents or going near their new home, which was exactly what they wanted, to isolate me further and control what Logan knew. We need to get Logan's side of the story officially documented. Jack said that letter helps, but we need more. I nodded, pushing my cereal around the bowl. But how? We can't contact him directly at the school? Jack smiled slightly. Remember Dakota's cousin, the one who smuggled out Logan's letter? I think we need to send a letter back. We drafted a careful message to Logan explaining the situation and asking if he'd be willing to provide a signed statement about our parents' behavior. Nothing incriminating about the school. We didn't want to get him in trouble there, just the facts about our family dynamics growing up and the recent scholarship situation. Jack found a way to mail it through a roundabout route that wouldn't raise suspicions at Westfield Academy. Then we waited. Meanwhile, more evidence of my parents' bizarre campaign against me surfaced. Miss Rivera, my guidance counselor, forwarded emails showing my dad had actually asked her to lose some of my recommendation letters last year to weaken my college applications. My debate coach revealed my mom had once offered to donate new equipment if she'd give Logan the team captain position over me, despite my better qualification. Each new revelation made me feel simultaneously validated and sick. All those years I thought I just wasn't good enough when actually there were active efforts to hold me back. 3 days later we got another break. Susan called to tell us the scholarship committee at Hampton had not only fully reinstated my scholarship but had issued a formal apology. Their investigation had confirmed the plagiarism claim was fabricated and they were implementing new security procedures to prevent similar situations in the future. That's one win, Jack said after the call. But we still need to deal with the restraining order and Logan's situation. That afternoon I was helping Jack organize documents for our case. When the doorbell rang, Jack went to answer it and I heard murmured conversation at the door. A minute later he came back into the kitchen with a serious expression. "Someone's here to see you," he said cryptically. I followed him to the living room and stopped short sitting on the couch, looking nervous but determined. Was Dakota Logan's roommate from Westfield Academy? "Dakota, what are you doing here?" I asked. Stunned, the lanky teenager stood up. "Logan sent me." "Well, technically I'm visiting my cousin for the weekend, but Logan asked me to come here before heading back tomorrow." Jack looked as surprised as I felt. "How did you even find this address?" Dakota shrugged. Logan had it memorized, said it was his godfather's place. I sat down across from him. "Is Logan okay? You need to drop this whole thing. Just admit, you cheated, apologize to mom and dad and move on." I stared at him seriously. "That's why you wanted to meet to tell me to confess to something I didn't do. Look, I know you think you're being screwed over," but he lowered his voice. "It's better this way. Hampton was always my thing. You knew that. Your thing I didn't even know. You were applying until after I got in." Logan's face flushed. "That's not true. I told everyone I was applying there since freshman year." I thought back, trying to remember if he'd ever mentioned it, maybe at a family dinner I wasn't invited to, or when I was studying upstairs. But no, this was just another example of the Logan-centered universe my family lived in. Apparently, I was supposed to automatically know his plans and adjust mine accordingly. "I worked my ass off for that scholarship," I said, keeping my voice low but intense. "I earned it fair and square and someone probably you submitted fake evidence to get it taken away from me." Logan's eyes darted away. "Bingo, it was you, wasn't it?" I pressed. "Not exactly," he muttered. "Dad helped." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I mean, I'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed was different. My own father had sabotaged my future. Jack returned from the bathroom and sat next to me, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "This family discussion now includes me," Jack said firmly, "and I'm very interested in what you just told Leo about your father's involvement in this plagiarism accusation." Logan's face went pale. I didn't, I mean. Let me be very clear. Jack continued. What your parents have done, what you've participated in, is wrong on multiple levels. It's emotional abuse, academic fraud, and potentially illegal. Logan's eyes widened. Illegal? Come on, it's just family stuff, falsifying evidence to revoke a scholarship. Jack raised an eyebrow that crosses several lines. I watched my twin brother squirm uncomfortably. He wasn't used to being challenged. He looked like a little kid caught stealing cookies, not the golden child who could do no wrong. What exactly did Dad do? I asked. Logan sighed, deflating a little. He took some of your earlier essays from the shared family computer and found similar papers online. Then he altered some dates and created fake screenshots. Jack's grip tightened on my shoulder. And your mother, was she involved too? She knew about it, Logan admitted, but Dad did the actual. You know, I felt numb. For years I'd blamed myself for not being good enough. I tried to earn their love by being perfect, and all this time they were actively working against me. Why? I asked, my voice cracking a little. Why would you guys do this to me? For the first time ever, I saw shame on Logan's face. Real shame, not the fake contrition he'd used to get out of trouble. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he said. When you got the scholarship instead of me, Dad was furious, said you must have cheated somehow. I just went along with it. I always go along with it. Go along with what exactly? Jack asked. Logan looked between us, then down at his hands. With the Leo thing, the Leo thing. I repeated. You know, he mumbled. The way they treat you differently. Jack leaned forward. Logan, I need you to be completely honest right now. Has this pattern of favoritism and sabotage been going on your whole lives? Logan nodded slowly. Since we were little, I don't even know why it started. At first I thought it was cool, getting extra stuff, but then it got weird. Weird how? I asked, like they'd make me report back on what you were doing. If you were studying too much or getting good grades. They'd find ways to distract you, give you extra chores, hide your homework. Sometimes each word was like a knife. All those times I couldn't find my textbook, all those sudden urgent cleaning tasks right before exams. It hadn't been bad luck or my own disorganization. They'd reward me for getting better grades than you. Logan continued, not meeting my eyes, but if you outperformed me, they'd punish you for making me look bad. Jesus Christ. Jack muttered, I didn't understand it when we were kids, Logan said, but around middle school I figured it out by then. It was just the way things were and you never thought to. I don't know. Tell me, I asked, anger finally cutting through the shock. I tried once. Logan said, when we were 14, I told Mom it wasn't fair how they treated you. She got really upset, said I was being ungrateful, that they were just preparing us for the real world, preparing us how I demanded. Logan looked genuinely confused, something about how there can only be one winner in life. The day of the hearing arrived faster than I expected. I was a nervous wreck, knowing I'd have to face my parents in court. Jack and Susan had prepped me thoroughly, but nothing could fully prepare me for seeing the people who had systematically undermined me my entire life now trying to legally paint me as the threat. My parents arrived with their own lawyer, a slick L-looking guy, in an expensive suit. My mom was dressed conservatively, looking appropriately concerned for someone supposedly afraid of her own son. My dad kept his expression stern and disapproving. Their lawyer presented their case first, a completely fabricated story about my escalating behavior problems culminating in supposed threats. After being caught with substances, they even brought a small baggie of the devil's lettuce as evidence, claiming they'd found it in my room before I ran away. When it was our turn, Susan calmly and methodically dismantled their entire narrative. She presented the documentation for my teachers, the evidence of the scholarship sabotage, Dakota's statement about Logan's sudden arrival at Westfield, and then, most devastatingly, selections from Logan's secret files. My parents' faces, as the audio recordings played, were something I'll never forget. My mom went pale while my dad's expression cycled through shock, anger, and finally, something like fear, as he realized how thoroughly their manipulation had been documented. Their lawyer tried to object, claiming the recordings could have been edited or taken out of context. But Susan had anticipated this and presented metadata and timestamps that authenticated everything. Your Honor, Susan concluded. What we have here is not a case of a troubled teen threatening his parents. This is a documented pattern of emotional abuse culminating in these parents abandoning their son, falsifying evidence to revoke his scholarship, and isolating him from his twin brother, who has begun to recognize and resist the manipulation. The judge was silent for a long moment after all evidence had been presented. He looked at my parents with an expression I couldn't quite read in my 30 years on the bench. He finally said, I've seen many family disputes, but the level of calculated undermining documented here is extraordinary. He turned to my parents. Your petition for a restraining order is denied. Furthermore, I'm granting temporary emancipation to Leo, pending a full hearing next month, which I expect will become permanent given the evidence presented today. I sat there in shock as he continued addressing the subject of Logan. Regarding the minor child Logan, while this court cannot remove him from his current educational placement without a separate hearing, I am ordering that he be allowed regular contact with his brother, effective immediately. The school is to be notified that no restrictions on communication between the siblings are to be enforced. My parents looked stunned. Their lawyer was already gathering papers, probably planning an appeal, but the damage was done. The truth was out, officially recognized by the court. As we left the courtroom, my mom tried to approach me, suddenly shifting to a tearful "we only wanted what's best for you" act. Jack firmly steered me away and Susan reminded her that any direct contact would violate the new court order. 3 months have passed since that day. I'm now legally emancipated and living permanently with Jack, who's become more family to me than my biological parents ever were. Hampton College confirmed. I'll start in the fall with my full scholarship intact. Logan decided to stay at Westfield Academy through the end of the semester. Turns out he actually likes the structured environment and is doing well academically, without our parents' twisted dynamics influencing everything. We video chat almost every day now, rebuilding our relationship as brothers without the competition our parents forced on us. As for my parents, they moved forward with their relocation plans, apparently telling their new neighbors they have only one son who's away at boarding school. Susan says this kind of denial is common in parents faced with evidence of their own abuse. I still have moments of doubt and insecurity, decades of being told you're not good enough, don't disappear overnight. But for the first time in my life I'm not trying to earn love that was never freely given in the first place. Yesterday Logan told me something that really stuck with me. He said, you know what's weird? I always thought being the favorite child was a good thing, but it was just a different kind of trap. He's right. We were both victims of our parents, screwed up dynamic just in different ways. The difference is now we both get to decide what happens next.